Today on Addicted to Gear, we're going to be officially unveiling the Tony Purple Custom Shop Telecaster. Stay tuned. The guitar that we're going to be looking at today has been a build I've been working on for a while. I've been sort of showing hints of what it is on my Instagram channel, and I've been talking about it on my live Sunday shows as well, but I haven't actually done an official review and an official unveiling, which is going to happen today. Just a little background on this guitar before we get started. It's actually a guitar that I wanted to build after seeing Mr. Pete Honore's Purple Custom Shop Telecaster on the Andertons channel, and I'm a big fan of Pete and his playing, and when I saw that guitar it was like, wow, that's an amazing guitar and I'd love to have one, but I obviously cannot afford a custom shop Stratocaster or Telecaster for that matter, custom shop anything. So I figured why not go ahead and build it myself, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. So before we get into the nitty-gritty on this guitar build, I want to give a big shout of thanks to a bunch of companies that have stepped up and helped me on this project, and I could not have done it without each and every one of you. So the first company I want to thank is Great Lakes Custom Colors, and they provide beautiful guitar finishes and supplies that you will need to build your guitar projects. I'll put the link to them up above. They stepped in and provided the finishing supplies as well as this great 100-year-old recycled pine body that is definitely going to be the soul and the mojo behind this guitar, and I want to thank you very much for that. It's a wonderful body and I'm loving it so far, so big thank you goes out to them. The next company I want to give a thank you to is Solo Music. They provided the hardware in this guitar as well as the tuners, the bridge, the saddles, and the hardware in the system here. And I want to give them a big thank you as well, because they provide some great quality products at reasonable prices within Canada, and it's always great to have them on the Canadian side if you're Canadian, so that you don't have to get dinged with customs and stuff like that. So thank you to Solo Music. The next company I want to give a big thank you to is really the voice of this guitar, and that is these beautiful pickups that are provided by Peg City. These are the Peg City 204 Telecaster pickups, which are wonderful. They provide the punch and just the clarity I was looking for in this guitar, and I'll talk to you about those in a minute as well. But I want to give a big thank you to Peg City. Also, another company that was a huge part of making this guitar a success is Oxford Supply, because they provided the custom mixed beautiful royal purple sparkle finish that I used on this guitar build. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have a beautiful purple custom shop Telecaster, would I? They make great colors as well for guitars, and if you need something specific, you can contact them. If you're looking for this color, then just go on their website and search royal purple, and you'll have the exact color that I'm showing you here. An awesome sparkle that really ended up nailing the color I was looking for. And last but not least, Gun Shop provided the circuit that I'm using within this guitar build. And the circuit is a little bit special because it does a few different things. I'll talk about that in a minute. But just suffice it to say, if you're looking for a specific circuit for your guitar and you don't have the skills to actually wire it up, you might not know what to do or where to get the pots and whatnot, just contact Gun Street. They have everything you might want, including this great circuit here, which is a combination of treble bleed, push-pull, out of phase, and it has a few other little goodies in there that I'll mention in a minute as well. Now, I'm super happy I took the time and effort to build this guitar. I really love building my own guitars. I honestly feel that they're worth every penny if you know what you're doing. If you're not able to build a guitar because you don't have the experience, then by all means, get yourself something off the shelf. But you know, I can't afford custom shop Strats or Telecasters. They're just too expensive. And honestly, I believe that nobody can put the finishing touch on a guitar that you're going to be playing as much as yourself. You're the one who knows what you want, how you want it to feel and look and play. And you really can't do any better than build it yourself. So I highly encourage you guys to do that if you have the knowledge. Just go ahead, jump right in. They're fun projects to build, and you're going to be super happy with the results. So without further ado, guys, let's talk about this guitar. Let's go in detail and see what it is, what makes it so custom. So let me start off by describing exactly what this Telecaster build is. First of all, I love this guitar right now. It's probably one of my favorites, as you can tell by all the fingerprints and smudges on it. I haven't stopped playing it, and it really does feel like a custom shop build because I put it together with my own blood, sweat, and tears, and I put countless hours building this guitar, and it came out just the way I wanted. Just a little backstory. I really wanted a guitar that was not pristine because the idea behind this guitar was actually to build a guitar that would be relicked eventually. Now, I didn't want to relic it myself in terms of like artificial relicking. What I was after was actually natural relicking. So I went after a paint that would allow me to, let's just say, show the wear and tear a little quicker. And that is nitrocellulose lacquer. And that's really important if you're building a guitar and you want to relic it. You can't really use polyurethanes. I mean, you can, but polyurethane overall is a little bit more durable, where nitrocellulose lacquer is very thin. So it actually is more delicate. It takes a lot longer to actually cure. But that's what I wanted for this build. So if you notice any slight, imperfections, that is something that I was actually aiming for. So the guitar is reclaimed pine. That is what the body is made out of on this guitar. And I went with pine also specifically for the fact that pine is a little bit of a softer wood. So if you hit a pine body somewhere, it'll ding pretty easily. If you're building a relic guitar and you want to just make it relic naturally, Pine is ideal. Its properties, which most people feel is not a good thing, actually ends up being quite a good thing in a relic type guitar. So the body is actually pine. It's not very heavy, and it actually is 100-year-old reclaimed pine, which is fantastic because it is an old piece of wood. And I think when wood ages, the sap inside the wood crystallizes and just makes the tone of the wood just a little bit different. You know, I'm not going to get into a tone wood argument, but just suffice it to say there is a difference between wood that has been dried, kiln dried, or freshly cut is not the same. There's a lot more water and moisture in fresh wood, whereas if you take a piece of 100-year-old wood, it's definitely dried at that point. And it's also more stable. Hopefully it won't crack. And that is one of the things that you want to avoid on a guitar build. So the next step was to source the purple. And this purple was a little bit tricky to source. So I had it custom mixed by Oxford Supply. And they basically ended up making the color for me, which is called Royal Purple. And it has sparkle in it. And you will be able to get that on their website if you're interested in making your own. Now you're gonna ask, what is so custom about your custom shop Strat? Well, for one thing, it is the circuit within the control cavity here. This is a circuit that was purchased from Gun Street, and they actually build some really nice circuits. And I wanted something just slightly different. So this one has the regular tone pot and volume, but the volume is a push-pull that actually will be able to split and reverse phase the pickups. And the switch is 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of a three-way. So the difference here is that you do have your regular bridge, you have your bridge and your neck, you have your neck, and then you have the out of phase between the two, which is a nice thing to have if you're looking for an additional sound, which could come in quite handy from time to time. The other thing that is a little bit different on this one is that the switch here, if you'll notice, is at an angle. It's not actually flat. And I find the flat switches get in the way. They just are a little bit too close to the volume knob. And this angle provides just a little bit more clearance so that you can grab the switch easier when you're playing and flick it and get it where you need it to be. I almost forgot to mention the great pickups in this guitar. And this is another shout out to a great company called Peg City. They provided these Telecaster pickups that I put in this guitar, and they are absolutely wonderful. A combination of Alnico 2s and Alnico 5s, which really gives me the bite that I want and the mellowness that I need. And it's just a wonderful combination of sounds within these pickups, and they just work really well in this Telecaster. The other hardware, including the switches, the knob, the bridge, and the tuners were provided by Solo Music. I decided to go with a standard bridge. The bridge here has the regular 3 brass saddles, which some of you might think are limiting because, you know, you can't really adjust the strings independently of one another. But honestly, if you're going for that Telecaster sound, I think this is the type of bridge that you would want. Apart from the bridge, I wanted to go with locking tuners. Not so much because I like the locking feature, it's just because I like the mass. I feel that the added weight of the locking tuners provide the additional mass you want in your headstock that just gives you some added punch. I can't really explain it, but it just seems like it adds a little bit more sustain and a little bit more punch for whatever reason, and I like that a lot. Now, the fact that they are locking does mean that the string changes are easy, and I like that as well. The Solo Music locking tuners on this guitar work really, really great. They're not extremely expensive, but they actually are very, very much high quality tuners, and I love them. I think they're great, and the fact that they are also compensated heights. So the low E string post is actually taller than the high E string. So that actually aids in the angle of the strings and helps with tuning stability. I also put in a string T here just to make sure that everything is snug. The neck is using a bone nut. I always use bone. Well, not always. Sometimes I'll go with a Graphtec nut, but in this case, I wanted to stick with bone. It's just a lot easier for shaping, and it does a wonderful job. The neck on this guitar is maple, as you can see, skunk stripe in the back. The radius on this neck is a modern 9.5 radius. The actual frets are medium frets. I didn't want to go with vintage style frets. I like the medium frets. So I decided just to give it a little coat of lacquer. And this was also supplied by Great Lakes Custom Color. And they have some really nice vintage tinted lacquers. And I use that for this build. So it gives you kind of that authentic color. And eventually when the guitar neck does wear in, it'll get grimy. And it'll look more like a custom shop Telecaster, in my opinion. I had intended to put in a black pickguard, 3-ply black. I did ask everyone's opinion, and I have to say I feel a little bit like an asshole because everyone, or most of you, actually preferred the black on the purple. But I felt that the black on the purple felt more like a modern guitar. It looked more like a modern guitar to me, so I didn't really want to go that route, although it did look really nice. I have to admit, I prefer the color of this pickguard. It just gives it a little bit more of a vintage vibe. I'll use the black 3-ply pickguard in another build that I'm going to be doing on a butterscotch Telecaster that I have in the works, and I need a black pickguard for that one. So that's where that's going to end up. So that's basically the rundown on this guitar, and I have to say it just feels and plays really, really wonderfully, and I'm super happy with the build. I think it came out great. I highly encourage anyone to build your own guitars. It's a great experience. You learn so much, and after a while, after you get a couple of builds under your belt, you really can do it all. And I've been having a lot of fun with these builds, and I'm sure I'm gonna do another one shortly, so I'll probably post that on the channel as well for your enjoyment. I hope you liked today's review. I hope you liked this guitar build that I'm showcasing here. If you guys have any questions about building your own guitars, please feel free to ask me, or even better, tune into my live shows where I answer all of the questions regarding guitars and gears. And if you have anything that you want to ask regarding finishing your guitar, painting guitars, or building your own kits, that's the place to be. And that happens every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Keep rocking. More great stuff coming your way on Addicted to Gear.